Alright, this is JW here doing a quick review on the Alienware m14x. I've had this system for a couple months now, so I've got to play around with it a little bit. This is kind of what it'll look like coming out of the box. They give you this nice felt material that covers it. It's a nice bonus Alienware gives to their systems. It's not really very useful in protecting the system, but it does keep dust and dirt and anything like that. I use it around the house some if I'm just storing it and not necessarily using it. So this is kind of what it's going to look like coming straight out of the box. I chose the Nebula Red, which is kind of a different color. It also comes in a black if you want to go the standard route. But if you're going to go Alienware, you might as well go all out and really get what you want with it. And here's just the power brick. I thought this was kind of a good option. It's a little bit smaller than, let's say, the m15x or m17x, but it's still a pretty substantial size if you're thinking about carrying this thing around some. Alright, so just going on some of the outside features of the system, you're going to have a VGA, you got HDMI, mini display port, USB 2.0, microphone jack here, 2 headphone jacks, which I think is a good feature. I wish more companies would do this. You got your SD card slot there. And then the back, really all you got here is the power button. You got your big vent over here. And then on the right side, you got your Ethernet port, 2 USB 3.0s, which is nice. And then you have your DVD slot. They do have a Blu-ray option now on the R2 system that just got released around last week, so you do have that option. Alright, here's just giving you kind of a shot of underneath of the system. You can see here on the right you have the fan that's going to cool the GPU and the CPU. And then you got this cool little nameplate that you can put your handle on, your name, anything like that. And then here on this side, this really, there's no vent or anything there. It will circulate a little bit of air, but there's no actual fan that's pushing air in or out. And another neat feature is that it does have a battery light indicator on the bottom, which is kind of neat. Alienware kind of goes all out when it comes to options like that. And then you got a small spot here for the center speaker. That's another bonus about this system. It does have pretty good speakers. Alright, some of the specs on this system. I got this system with the Core i7. It's a quad-core processor. It also comes with 4 GB of RAM, 750 GB hard drive. It comes with an Nvidia GeForce GT 555M graphics card. Like I said, they just did a refresh on the system about last week, so they have a new graphics card, new processors, everything's been updated now, so that might be something to take a look at. It comes with the Intel Advanced N6205 wireless network card, Bluetooth 3.0. It does have a webcam up here and a camera, slot loading DVD burner. It does come with a Blu-ray option if you order now, since they did that refresh. But this thing really is built. It's a very solid machine. I will say that it kind of has this rubberish texture that's kind of coating the whole outside of the system. That's nice. It makes it feel doesn't feel plasticky or anything like that. It definitely feels like a solid system. The hinges here for the screen feel strong. Like I said, I've had it for a couple months. I haven't had any issues. It feels sturdy, like it's going to hold up over time. And it's just it's a really solid machine. I mean, it weighs in about 6.5 pounds, so it is a little heavy for a 14-inch notebook, but it really is. I mean, it's a solid built machine. And now we're going to get into some, most people, I'm not going to go over this a lot. Most people already know what's going on with the lights here. If you're looking into an Alienware system, you probably know a little bit about them already. But for the lights, you actually have software already preloaded where you can change the zones on them. I got it set to different colors now, but if you want to change part of the keyboard to orange, you can do that. And it's kind of a neat feature. There's no other notebooks around here that'll do that, so you can kind of customize it as you'd like. That's kind of a pretty neat feature, I think, for the system. I don't use it a whole lot. It is kind of cool to show off to your friends when you're gaming or something like that, but it'll eat up your battery life substantially if you're running just without being plugged in. And now we're going to go to the screen and audio. This is where things kind of falter and shine. For the screen in my option is below average on what I would expect from you know, a system that starts at $1,000. But you can see it's plenty bright. Colors aren't going to be super accurate, but it does look pretty good there. But my biggest issue is that the screen has a glossy display on it, which is horrible, especially gaming. I've tried to game on this on campus a few times, not even outside, just in a well-lit area, and after a couple hours it really puts a strain on your eyes. I wish they'd go with a matte finish. But as you can see, it does have a decent amount of glare on the screen. It does get plenty bright. Like I said, that's at full brightness right there. It does have a decent bright range, but if you're looking for any type of color accurateness or anything like that, if you're doing any photo editing, you're going to need this to be hooked up to a monitor to do anything like that. But gaming wise, you know, I mean, it did well. Just after, I noticed after, you know, if you're in a well-lit area, after 2 or 3 hours, I mean, it really starts to put a strain on your eyes. And that's about it for the screen. For the sound, this system has probably the best sounding speaker system I've ever seen in a laptop. It does have a subwoofer. You can't really tell, but this does have some pretty good bass. Let's see if I can kind of simulate that.
War has started. And we are
I mean, this is probably at about 75%, but I mean, it does have a pretty good sound quality, as you'll be able to tell.
I think it's time. You here with the mission, sir? Trying to get me back in the world? Trying to save it.
I mean, it has plenty of treble. The bass is pretty good, especially for a laptop. I mean, it's pretty good coming from a laptop.
What are you asking me to do? It's called the Avengers Initiative. I thought I didn't qualify. Apparently, I'm...
So, coming from that standpoint, you know, just because the screen's a little... Most people that are into gaming aren't really going to be purchasing this system to do any type of editing or anything like that, photo editing, where they're going to need a really good screen. My only big gripe is that the glossy screen, which also does get a lot of fingerprints, and it kind of rests up against the keyboard here. So you have to wipe it off every couple of days, or if you're using it a lot, I had to wipe it off every couple of days because you get keyboard key imprints here on the screen, which is kind of annoying for a system that costs this much. And now we're going to go on to the keyboard and touchpad. The keyboard it's a top-notch keyboard. It's probably one of the best besides a Lenovo ThinkPad. It's probably the second best keyboard I've ever used. I mean, it has good feedback. You know, overall it's a really nice keyboard setup. You know, I don't have any complaints there. It doesn't really flex at all. I mean, which is good. My Alienware m14x had a decent amount of flex on it. At least the R3 version did compared to this. So, and for the touchpad, it's got a decent sized touchpad. It feels nice. It's got a smooth texture. Compared to a MacBook Pro, people might complain, but overall it's a high quality, very nice touchpad. And then you got your left and right mouse clicks, which are nice. No complaints there. One minor complaint, might not be able to see it, is that this is the second m17x system or m14x system that I've had. I had one before with the i5 and sold it and got this one. But you can see, might not be able to see it in the video, but the space bar kind of is dented here on the left. I called Dell about it and they said that's just common with this system. I mean, they were going to send someone out to replace the keyboard, and I said, this happened on my last one, don't worry about it. So, and another thing I want to go over is the heat, noise, general using it everyday task and battery life on the system. The heat noise varies. If you're just using it for, you know, Word documents or anything like that, you're not really going to notice any audible noise coming from the system. You might notice the fan pick up speed a little bit, but it's not really going to make a lot of noise. But when you're gaming, on the other hand, this system screams. It sounds like the fan is, I don't know, trying to blow dry your hair at the same time. It gets really, really loud. So I tried to play this in the library once, and it didn't work because it was too loud. I was getting some odd glares. So when you're gaming, I've played Civilization for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time, and it does get kind of warm. The CPU can get up in the low 80s range, which isn't, you know, too bad, but sometimes it did reach mid 90s, which is kind of pushing that 100 mark, which I try to avoid. I usually put something in the back to kind of prop it up, and that kind of helped a little bit. You could take, you know, do a different thermal paste on it, and it'd probably cool it down a little bit. But it is going to emit a little bit of noise, and it's gonna produce some heat when it's gaming. But I mean, it's got, you know, a decent mid-range GPU, and you know, if it's got a quad-core i7, those do get kind of warm when they're being pushed. Another heat issue is that this right side, I do a lot of research and typing, so I 6, 7, 8 hours of just on this thing typing. This right side gets extremely uncomfortably hot. Another issue I had there. The battery life though is pretty good. I mean, for a system of this power, it does have Nvidia, which switches from the Intel graphics and the regular GT 555 graphics on there. If you're really conservative, you can get almost 4.5, 5 hours battery on this. If you're just, you know, want the screen brightness up a little bit, and especially if you want these lights on and everything, you might only get 3.5, somewhere around there. So if you turn the lights off though, you see I have them off now, but if you turn them off, it's going to give you a little bit more battery life, and just turn everything down, especially with the Wi-Fi off. If you have the Wi-Fi off, you can definitely get that 5 hour mark, but it just depends on what you want there. But overall, I was pretty pleased with the battery life, considering how much power this system does put out. Alright, now here we're going to run a Resident Evil kind of a benchmark test to see what we get here. This is at the 1600 by 900 resolution. So I'm not sure if the mic's picking this up, but you can kind of hear the fan noise right now. It's not totally picked up to max, but it's probably at 80, 85, 90% right now. It's not really cranking out to 100, but you can definitely hear that the fan's running pretty easily. Which it's not a bad thing. I mean, this system packs a lot of performance into a 14-inch notebook. I mean, at the time, it was one of the best mid-range GPUs available. So the fan's a good thing. I mean, it's preventing your internal CPU and GPU from overheating. So that's definitely a plus. But it's just something that comes with the system. It is going to be loud when running games. But overall, general daily task, you're not really going to notice it. I mean, if you're just out typing out a paper, I didn't even notice it. I did a little bit of photo editing on it, and I didn't even notice it. It didn't really get that loud to where it was bothersome. At times, running games, it can get bothersome. If you're playing, especially over an hour, in a quiet library, people started to get annoyed after a little bit. So, as you can see, the overall performance was about a B, averaging 49.3 frames per second. And this was at what I'd consider a high setting, with it being at the standard 900p resolution. That does make a difference. So, I didn't have any problems running any of the games that I had on it. World of Warcraft, Civilization, games like that aren't really that GPU, it doesn't require a lot. And let's exit out of that. And let's see what our temperature was. I had a temperature monitor here running in the background, so not really 100% sure you can see it without me zooming in. Let's see if I can do that. But you can see the maxes were in the 90s, so it does get it is going to get pretty warm when running games, so that might be something to take into account. You can see some of the maxes for the CPU were in the 90s, so it does, and that was just a general benchmark, so it is going to get kind of warm, so that's something that you're going to have to take into account. Like I said, if you prop up the back or do a thermal paste redo, it will lower the temperature down a little bit, so that's something that you might want to consider in the future if you do get one of these. And like I said, the new systems now, the R2s have a different GPU in them, and CPUs, which are supposed to be a little more efficient, you know, both of them. So hopefully that cuts down on a little bit of the heat, but those systems, you can order them, but they just got released, so no one probably has their hands on one quite yet. So overall, the Alienware m14x, this is the R1 version. Like I said, it's a solid system. I mean, I'd recommend it to anyone that's, you know, wants something you can move around a little easily, especially maybe if you're in college or something like that and you want to take it, or maybe if you travel, you just want a traveling system to be able to game pretty well. I mean, I have had the m17x R3, and that hands down will crush this system performance-wise. Even my old m15x, that performed a little bit better than this actually, but this is a 14-inch. I mean, it's not a huge system. I mean, it's a pretty mobile system, so I definitely recommend it. Like I said, some of the benefits of it: it's got a great keyboard, decent battery life. It's Alienware, so it's going to be unique. It's not going to be a slab of metal like the MacBook Pros and just look, don't have any creative edge to them at all. Some of the cons, that you might want to look at, is it does have in my opinion, a poor screen for what it costs. I mean, if you're shelling out $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, especially if you're doing some upgrades on it, you should be able to get a pretty decent screen on there. The glossy thing, that's just something that I tend to hate. It bothers me to death. Why anyone would put a glossy screen on a computer, I have no idea, but evidently people like it because most of the systems nowadays have that on there, unless you go to a business class system. It does get warm. It is going to get a little warm, especially, I mean, I can feel the heat right now on this right palm rest, which can get annoying when you're typing. But overall, quality-wise, it's good. If those are things you're not really concerned about, I'd definitely check this system out. If you're wanting something with a little bit more power, I'd step up for the m17x R3. It's a little bit heavier. I had that for a couple years when I was in school, and I had no issues carrying it around. I kind of got this as I'm trying to get an m18x, so I just kind of got this as this is kind of a play around system for now. So that's my review on the Alienware m14x. This is the R1 version. So check out the R2. Maybe wait till we get some benchmarks and stuff out on that and see what you think.